Hi friends, welcome to Timing Python series. In this video, we're going to talk about how to log contextual data in Python logging module using LoggerAdapter. If you want to learn about the logging module in Python, I've already created a video and a blog post on it, and I will leave the link of those video and blog post in the description. And in this video, I already mentioned about the basics of logging and how to do log rotation, how to do log rotation based upon timestamp, and how to compress the logs, etc. So be sure to check out that video if you don't know the basics of logging. What do you mean by contextual data? We already log a lot of contextual data like the timestamp, the log level, and the message itself. But if you want to log additional contextual data, like here, I have printed the process ID and the organization name additionally in these logs because it can give more insights and more queryability and more debugging capability when the logs are accumulated. And so that's the use case of adding additional contextual data in logs. It can be useful for easy debugging, and adding new attributes can help us do efficient querying and filtering of the accumulated logs. So for example, here I've added process ID and organization name, but we can add application name, thread ID, geographical zone, etc. So let's see how we can add these extra attributes to a log. One straightforward way is while logging, you just give another input called extra and add all your extra attributes in that extra argument. And in the format string, you have to mention those extra attributes. For example, here I've given an extra called org name and PID, and in my format string I have told that I have to specify the PID and org name also. So while printing the log, these extras will be taken and pasted here. So let's try to do that now. So I'm taking a blank Python file. I'm just writing import logging because we are using the logging module. Let's create a logger object. So I'm going to write logger equal to logging dot get logger. Give a name so that you can have a global named logger in your application. So I'm just naming the logger as root, and then let's create a log handler so that I can give a format to it. So let me create a console based handler. So I'm going to write console handler equal to, I need to import the stream handler, right? So I got to write from logging import stream handler. So console handler equal to stream handler, and let's add a formatter to it. So console handler set formatter, and let's create a new formatter here. So I'm going to import the formatter also from logging module. So here formatter of format string, let this be the format string, timestamp, process ID, organization name, level name, and message. These timestamp, level name, and message are by default coming from the logging module, and these two need to be injected before writing the log. So now I got my handler ready. Let's try to add this handler to our logger. So logger dot add handler, and I'm going to add this console handler. So now I got my logger setup done. Now let's try to create a log actually. So I'm going to write logger dot warning, and here let me try to write hello world. And now let's try to run this, and obviously you will face an error because the two inputs PID and org name are not present. So how can we supply those to the log? I'm going to write extra equal to, and here you're going to give the org name. Let's try to keep the organization name as Acme, and let me give the PID, which is the process ID. So currently let's try to keep it 0 just for demonstration. So let me try to save this and run this, and now you got the timestamp, process ID, organization name, the level name, and the message itself. So alright, the process ID is not 0 actually, it should be derived from the OS module. So let's try to do that now. So first let's try to import the OS module and then write os.getPID. So this is going to get the process ID of this process in the OS. So let's try to run this now, and here you can see the process ID. Let's try to run this again, and one more process ID is coming because it's the OS process ID. And now if I want to log again, I'm just going to copy paste this line, and I have to again mention the extra. If I don't mention the extra, I'll get an error. So for each log, I have to manually give the extra to give the extra attributes to the log, and this cannot look clean and is also susceptible to a lot of human errors. So how do I tackle this? So this can be done using the LoggerAdapter. So using LoggerAdapter, you can just wrap it around a logger and give the extras beforehand and just use the LoggerAdapter and need not mention the extras. So let's try to do that now. So first let's try to import the LoggerAdapter from the logging module. So let's try to create a LoggerAdapter now. A new variable called LoggerAdapter equal to LoggerAdapter, and this takes two inputs, which is the logger itself, the logger object, and then the extra attributes which you want to give. So I'm going to write extra equal to, and you can just copy paste these extras from here, and that's it. I've got my extras configured at the beginning itself in the logger adapter. So now instead of logging with the logger, let's try to log with the logger adapter. So now let's try to remove this extra from that, and let's try to do the logger adapter here, and let's try to again print something, hello world 123, and let's try to run this now. And that's it. You got two logs, but in none of the logs you mentioned the extras. You mentioned the extras at the configuration itself and then using it in the rest of the logs. So it looks really clean and is less susceptible to human errors. So this way, just using a single line of code, you can use a logger adapter, wrap it around a logger and give extras beforehand, and then just do plain logging using the logger adapter. So that's it guys. That's how you can use the logger adapter to add extra attributes to your log. But let's see this example. Here you are creating the logger adapter in this file and using the logger adapter in this file itself. But in practical Python projects, your code will be distributed among multiple files, and you don't want to create a logger adapter in each file, right? You want a global logger adapter and you want to use it in all the files. So how can we do that? So you can create a Python file and it can have a global logger adapter and you can use it everywhere. So let's try to do that now. So I'm going to solve this problem using a Python class. So let's try to do that now. So I'm going to create a class called app-logger, and this class will have a static variable called instance. So this is basically the logger instance. So I'm going to write logger adapter. So let's try to import this logger adapter from the logging module. So I'm going to write from logging import logger adapter. Let's try to keep it as none in the beginning. Now let's try to create a static method that will fetch you the logger instance. So I'm going to write static method, and here let's try to create a function called get instance. So basically you have to just return the logger, right? App-logger dot instance. But if you're accessing this for the first time, it will be none, right? So I have to check whether it's none or not and initialize the instance, right? So I'm going to check whether it's none or not. So I'm going to write if app-logger dot instance equal to none, then do something, right? So I'm going to initialize the logger. So let's try to do that now. So I'm going to create another static method which will actually initialize the logger. So I'm going to write another static method and just name it init logger. And this is the normal logging code. Let's try to import the logging and all other important required module imports. Import logging. So let's see what I did here. I just created a logger and I've set the logging level, and I'm giving a stream handler so that I can log to the console, and I'm giving the format which is a timestamp, organization name, level name, and message, and I'm setting the format to the handler and adding the handler to the app logger. Now I've got my logger here. Let's try to create the logger adapter for usage. So I'm going to say app logger dot underscore underscore instance equal to logger adapter, and here I'm going to give the logger which I've created now and the extra. So obviously it's the app logger here, and the extra would be the organization name. Let's try to give the organization name as Acme, and that's it. I've got my instance set up by calling this init logger. So let's try to call this init logger actually. So I'm going to say app logger dot init logger, and that's it. Just like that, I have a class which maintains a global logger variable with all my configuration, and I can call it anywhere in my code. So let's try to just copy paste this into a new file called app underscore logger. So I copy pasted this whole thing into a new file called app underscore logger, and just calling the get instance should give me a logger adapter. So in my index.py file, which is in the same folder as the app logger, I'm going to import the app logger class. So I'm going to write from app logger import the app logger class. And how can I get the logger adapter? Is really simple. Just write app logger dot get instance, and then let's try to give it a variable called logger. So logger is equal to app logger dot get instance, and just write logger dot hello world. So I got my instance from the app logger class and I'm calling hello world. So let's try to run this now, and that's it. You got your logging along with the extras which is being maintained by the app logger class, and now you can call this method all over your code in different files and you'll get the same logger instance because we are using a class with a static variable. So this is one way of solving the problem. So while I'm calling the get instance method, if the app logger is already initiated, it doesn't get initiated again, and only the app logger instance will be sent. But if you're calling it for the first time, the logger will be initiated first and then the instance will be written, so that you will be assured that a logger instance will be written when you call app logger.get instance all the time. That was how to use a global logger adapter in practical Python projects. So that's it guys. That's how you can use the logger adapter to add contextual data to your logs. You can say I've created a blog post on using LoggerAdapter for adding contextual data to logs. I've given the source code along with the explanation in this blog post. I've also given reference to the official documentation so that you can do further reading. So please be sure to check out the link of this blog post in the description of this video. Please post your valuable feedback or ask any questions in the comment section. Hope you like this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Peace.